Now, every now and again, there's a piece of filmmaking gear that comes out that is a great value for the money. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about this set right here. This is the Shimbol TP Mini transmitter and receiver set. Now, with this thing right here, you can transmit wirelessly a signal to either an external monitor. Say if you're working on a set and you want, a director to hold the monitor where they don't have to be over your shoulder and be trying to look in the little screen of your camera, they can literally have that signal transmitted to a monitor wirelessly. Or if you're into live streaming events, you can also use this thing to hook up to your camera and wirelessly stream back to something like this ATEM Mini switcher back here, and you can have a different angle setup where you can, get a little bit more creative, have a little bit more leeway for where you want to place your camera due to this being a wireless setup. So Shimbol actually reached out to me and sent me this set for free to try out to see how I like it and report back to you guys and whether I found it useful in my workflow. And they did not get to see this video or have any input on what I say before I posted this. So this is pretty much going to be an honest review of what I found great about the Shimbol and whether or not I think that it is a good value. And I kind of already gave it away that I think that it is a great value for the money. But before we get there, let's get this thing unboxed and find out what comes in the box. So the unboxing experience for this one was pretty simple. There's a small box with the Shimbol branding on it. As soon as you open it up, you see the manuals, and then you remove this little foam here, and here is the transmitter and receiver set. Now, upon first view, I wasn't too excited about the color scheme. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad looking product by any means, but I'm normally like the minimal type of guy when it comes to style. I would have preferred this to be all black instead of the black and red with the dragon on it. Kind of makes it look a little funny, but that dragon is actually a sticker and it is removable. So as far as the ports go on this thing, as far as the transmitter is concerned, it has a USB-C port, an HDMI in and an HDMI out, and the receiver actually has that same USB-C port as well as two HDMI outs. Now on the back of the system is a space for a Sony NP-F battery to go. With this type of system, you will probably want to go for a smaller NP-F battery. What I'm showing on the screen now is a 950 battery, which is the slightly bigger one, and a 750 battery, which is the slightly smaller one. Now 950 is a little bit overkill. You probably would want to go with like a 550 NP-F, which is even smaller than the 750 if you're going to have these things mounted to your camera and you just don't want a big obnoxious battery sticking out on the back of it. But I must say, so I was going to make this review earlier and I had actually left these on with the 950s as you see them right here, and that was around 11 o'clock a.m. It is currently 9:47. I came back, I found out that they were still on. Although they haven't been in use, they were just powered on and the battery is still half full. So that's about 10 hours they've been on with the 950. So if you're in a scenario where you're gonna need a wireless transmitter for a long time, like all day, you're gonna wanna go with the 950 based on that test alone. Now, the reason that the transmitter actually has an HDMI in and an HDMI out is if I was to hook it up to my camera, I would hook the HDMI cable from my camera to the HDMI in of the transmitter. And say if I wanted to have also an external monitor on my camera, I would then hook another HDMI cable to the HDMI out to send that same signal that's going from my camera to the transmitter back to the monitor so I will be able to see. And the reason that the receiver has two out ports is that you can actually send the signal coming from the transmitter to two different sources. So the main features of the Shimbol TP Mini is that it has a 600-foot maximum range. It actually has antennas built inside of this black part here, because normally with these HDMI transmitters, they'll have like antennas that are like this high and they go out or they stick up. These antennas are built inside, and there is also a 7 millisecond latency where there's like literally a slight delay, which I'm going to show you in a second. One thing I forgot to mention, on the bottom of this thing and the receiver as well, there is a 1/4 screw hole, which you would need to mount. And obviously in order to mount it to like a camera cage, you would need like a double-sided 1/4 screw, or you can use any type of mount with a 1/4 screw attached to it, like a monitor mount, and put it into a cold shoe attachment on your camera or any other device. As you can see, this is the rig that I'm gonna have it on tomorrow when I'm actually gonna be live streaming a wedding using this thing, and it worked out pretty good. All right, so first things first, I have my TP Mini transmitter hooked up to this camera right here, and I actually had the receiver hooked up to my ATEM Mini switcher right here. I know you can see that because I'm looking at myself on the camera. And just like I told you, now the receiver has 2 HDMI outs because as you can see, I'm outputting the transmitter signal, which is my camera feed that you're looking at right here, to my ATEM Mini. And I also have another camera plugged up directly to my ATEM Mini, which is this shot down here that you see me in right there. But this is my shot that I have the TP Mini, and as you can see, this monitor is actually showing that same feed, but it's only showing this camera only because like I said, with the receiver, you can output the same signal that is coming from the transmitter to 2 devices. In this case, ATEM Mini and my monitor right here. Now that that's out the way, I can go through the latency. Now, if you don't know what latency means, like I said, this has a 0.7 millisecond latency. And all it means is that there is a little delay. As you can see, when I'm lifting up my hand, what you're seeing me, in the camera frame is in real time. And if you look at the TV behind you, you can see that it's a little delay. So, arm goes up, then that arm goes up. Arm goes down, then that arm goes down. So, have fun with that. And, that's not really a big deal. 0.7 is really small. Now, if you're like trying to use this thing to play a video game, because I've seen videos where people like hook it up to like a Nintendo Switch and try to play it on the TV. Obviously, if you're playing a video game, if you press a button, then the person jumps like 7 milliseconds later, that's not gonna really be too good. But for things like, video streaming, like what I'm gonna be using it for, it's really good because, either you're at the event or you're watching it on stream. If you see, the 7-second delay, the 7 millisecond delay, that's all you're going to see. You're not going to know that, it's like has this delay. You're just going to be seeing it, 7 milliseconds later than the people that are seeing it live. So again, for, putting your signal on a director's monitor, for the director to be, being able to just look at it like this, that's clutch because the 7 millisecond delay isn't going to mean much. And especially for live streaming events, if you're not there, obviously, and you're able to see it like this with this thing wirelessly, as you can see, I even show my setup right here. This thing is literally, if you can see that, I got it resting on top of the camera now. I didn't mount it, but yeah, this is, again, an $89 product that you're able to use as a wireless transmitter for streaming live events. Now, one issue that I want to speak to real quick is one that I heard other reviewers bring up in their reviews, and that is the fact that the TP Mini claims to be able to transmit 1080p at 60 frames a second. Now, you can record at 60 frames a second, but when you play it back, it almost looks as if you have your camera in 60 frames a second. And if you don't know camera talk, I'm sorry if I lose you here, but if you know about cameras, you'll know what I'm talking about. But the footage when you go in 60 frames a second looks like you have it in 60 frames a second on a 24p timeline. I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. I'm gonna switch this camera to 60 frames a second and then you will see what I mean. So I'm currently in 60 frames a second and I just realized something. You're gonna have to take my word for this halfway because you won't be able to see what I'm talking about because you're not here with me recording. Now, you should know if you do know cameras that when you record at 60 frames a second with the proper shutter speed of 1/25th, that you have that smooth motion blur, almost like that newscast look. Now, you're not gonna be able to see that because this video was edited on a 24 frames per second timeline, but you see how jittery I look, you see how jittery my movements look. It looks smooth on the, my camera monitor because like I said, I'm at 60 frames at 1/25th of a second, but that jittery look, I can see it in the TV right here because as I said, I'm hooked up to the TP Mini and like I said, it can do 60 frames, but it almost looks like you just have 60 frames on top of, inside of a 24p timeline, with that extra shutter speed 1/25th on the 24 frame timeline at 60 frames. It's gonna look all jittery like it's looking. So, I mean, to me, that's not really a big deal because you're obviously not trying to transmit slow motion, right? And if you're, doing this for like, say if you're like a church or you want to live stream some type of like speaking engagement, there's really no reason to be filming in 60 frames a second. Like I said, you're not doing slow motion. So this isn't a deal breaker for me, but what do you think? This is 60 frames a second, 1/25th, and I know it's extra jittery. So yeah, man, this is pretty much all I have for the Shimbol TP Mini. I must say I give this product a A straight up for value. This is a $89 wireless transmitting set. I'm still transmitting. As you can see, this is the screen of my A10 Mini. I have the receiver hooked up to my A10 Mini. That's how I'm able to get this feed. So if you're doing the wireless, streaming thing, you can have, my camera, I can put it as much as 599 feet away. And it, based on what they say, 600 feet is the max. It should still be able to give you that signal so you can have more flexibility in streaming events or just filming anything that you want to wirelessly transmit a signal. You should be good. Or if you want to use it for a director's, with a director's monitor or any type of monitor where you want somebody to be able to see what is on your camera. They don't have to be all over your shoulder, looking down, breathing down your neck, give yourself some space. You know what I'm saying? $89 is not it. That's a steal. I mean, anything under $100 that gives you this type of use case, that gives you this type of, capability to do these type of things, wireless stream, director's monitor. I mean, what more can you ask for? So that's pretty much where I'm going to leave this video. Now you can find the link to the TP Mini down in the description box below. Drop a comment on this video. Let me know what you think. What do you think about the product? Have you tried any other wireless transmission sets? Tell me what you think about the value that I explained in this video. I would really like to hear your feedback. And until next time, I will catch you in my next video. Peace out.